What if the fate of the entire world rested on the shoulders of a god born from a shattered legacy? Who was Horus? And why did he struggle to define the very essence of Egyptian mythology? In ancient Egypt, the gods were more than mere deities. They were the embodiment of the forces that shaped the world. Horus, the son of Osiris and Isis, was no ordinary god. Born amidst grief, betrayal, and divine conflict, Horus's life and journey would forever intertwine with the fate of Egypt itself. But Horus wasn't just any god. He was a symbol of hope, revenge, and renewal. His journey was riddled with intense challenges, battles, and vengeance. From his birth, filled with tragedy, to his ultimate ascension as the protector of Egypt, Horus's path was one forged in the fires of divine warfare. After the murder of his father Osiris by his treacherous uncle Set, Horus's purpose was clear. He was destined to avenge his father's death and reclaim the throne that was stolen from his family. Yet Horus's journey was far from straightforward, filled with tests, betrayal, and struggles that would shape his identity as the true ruler of the gods. As Horus faced the wrath of Set, Egypt's fate hung in the balance. But how did a god who was initially seen as a child of sorrow and loss become the king of the gods? His ultimate victory over Set would not only restore order to the cosmos, but also set the stage for Horus to become the eternal protector of Egypt and the reigning symbol of divine kingship. In this story, we will uncover how Horus's triumphs, challenges, and symbolism have endured through millennia, shaping Egypt's mythology and the destiny of its pharaohs. The story of Horus begins in tragedy as his father Osiris was brutally murdered by his own brother Set. Osiris had been the beloved ruler of Egypt, known for his wisdom, fairness, and role as the god of the afterlife. However, Set, consumed by jealousy and anger, wanted to take the throne for himself. In a plot as devious as it was deadly, Set trapped Osiris in a beautifully decorated chest and cast it into the Nile, where it was carried away and eventually lodged in a tree. This was not only a physical death, but a symbolic one that shook the very foundations of Egypt. Set's reign of terror had begun, plunging the world into chaos. However, Osiris's wife, the goddess Isis, was determined to restore balance and reclaim her husband. She searched tirelessly for Osiris's body, a journey that took her across vast lands, through hardships, and into the very heart of sorrow. After much effort, Isis finally found Osiris's remains, and with the help of her powerful magic, she brought him back to life long enough for them to conceive a child. This act of resurrection was not a simple return from death, but an act of defiance against Set's cruel machinations. In that brief moment of life, Horus was conceived, destined to be the son of this extraordinary union between life and death. However, Set was not done with his cruel campaign. When he discovered that Osiris was alive again, he quickly ended Osiris's brief resurrection, but not before Horus was conceived. Isis, now pregnant, fled to the marshes of the Nile Delta to protect herself and her unborn child from Set's wrath. In a world where gods could be killed and kingdoms could be stolen, Horus's birth was already surrounded by conflict and uncertainty. The fate of Horus was never a simple one. He was born into a world of vengeance and divine warfare. Set's power was not just a threat to Horus's mother, but to the very idea of balance in the universe. It was against this backdrop of darkness and turmoil that the birth of Horus became a beacon of hope. Isis's journey as a mother was not easy. She gave birth to Horus in secret, hidden away in the swamps, away from the prying eyes of Set and his followers. Yet, even in this isolation, the divine nature of Horus was undeniable. The newborn Horus was not just a child. He was a symbol of the cosmic struggle between order and chaos, life and death. Born to a mother who had defied death itself, Horus was meant to become the savior of Egypt, the avenger of his father's death, and the rightful ruler of the land. His birth was not only the birth of a god, but also the beginning of a divine struggle that would reshape the entire world. Horus's infancy was filled with peril as Set relentlessly sought to kill the child. Fearing that Horus would one day challenge his reign, Set's attacks were numerous, and he even sent venomous snakes and scorpions to kill Horus while he was still an infant. But Isis, using her magic and wisdom, protected Horus and kept him safe from Set's wrath. She raised him in secret, teaching him the ways of the gods, preparing him for the battles ahead. His father's death and his mother's resilience shaped Horus into a warrior god, ready to avenge the murder of Osiris and restore the rightful order to the world. The significance of Horus's birth lies not only in the circumstances of his conception and infancy, but also in what he represented. He was born into a world where divine forces clashed for supremacy, where justice was disrupted by chaos, and where the throne of Egypt was stolen by a malevolent god. Horus was not just a symbol of vengeance. He embodied the eternal struggle of good against evil. His very existence was a challenge to Set's rule, and his birth heralded the promise of a future where balance would be restored and Egypt would once again thrive under divine rule. Horus's birth, though marked by tragedy and loss, set the stage for one of the most enduring and powerful stories in Egyptian mythology. It was not just the beginning of his life, but the beginning of a battle between gods, a fight that would shape the destiny of Egypt for generations. In a world filled with gods who could be defeated and rulers who could be overthrown, Horus's birth marked the dawn of hope. Hope for justice, hope for restoration, and hope for the rightful return of balance to the world. His story would not just be his own, but the story of Egypt itself. As a child, Horus's life was a constant struggle, surrounded by danger, conflict, and the ever-present shadow of Set. Raised by his mother, Isis, in the hidden swamps of the Nile Delta, Horus was protected from the wrath of Set, who feared that the child would one day grow strong enough to challenge his reign. The world Horus was born into was harsh and unforgiving. Set's evil was relentless, and he sent countless assassins to eliminate Horus, believing that the infant god would one day usurp him and restore Osiris to the throne. But Isis, using her magic and divine knowledge, kept Horus safe and shielded him from Set's attempts to destroy him. Throughout his early years, Horus was not only protected, but was also raised with a deep understanding of his heritage. Isis, a goddess of wisdom and magic, was a formidable protector and teacher. She taught Horus the ways of the gods, nurturing his divine nature and preparing him for the challenges he would one day face. But Isis's protection was not enough to ensure Horus's survival in a world dominated by Set. Horus's journey toward greatness required more than just his mother's love and care. He needed strength, power, and skill, and for this, he would have to seek guidance from another. At a crucial point in his early life, Horus was sent to the goddess Hatheror, one of the most revered deities in the Egyptian pantheon. Hatheror was known for her wisdom, beauty, and nurturing qualities, and it was under her tutelage that Horus began to truly unlock his divine potential. Hathor trained Horus in the arts of war and strategy, teaching him how to harness his divine abilities. She instructed him in the ways of combat, giving him the strength and knowledge needed to confront Set and his forces. Hathor's influence was pivotal in Horus's development. She taught him not just how to fight, but also how to be a leader, to command and inspire those around him. During his time with Hathor, Horus learned the importance of balance, how to combine his warrior strength with the wisdom required to rule. Hathor's teachings helped Horus to understand that true power came not just from the physical, but from the mental and spiritual realms as well. She showed him that strength was not only about defeating enemies, but about overcoming the internal struggles that would arise in his quest for justice. Horus's time under Hathor's guidance was formative. It was where he learned to channel his anger and grief from the loss of his father into a focused and purposeful drive for vengeance and justice. Throughout his training, Horus also began to develop his divine powers. He was gifted with incredible strength, speed, and the ability to command the forces of nature. His connection to the sun, god Ra, grew stronger, and he began to embody the divine energy of the heavens. His eye, which would later become a symbol of protection and restoration, began to manifest its power. The eye of Horus became a powerful emblem of his ability to see beyond the physical world and into the spiritual, making him not only a formidable warrior, but also a wise and just ruler. As Horus grew older, his powers continued to evolve, and his confidence in his abilities began to solidify. Despite all the training and protection Isis and Hathor provided, Horus's early years were marked by struggle. He was often forced to confront the pain of losing his father, the absence of Osiris, and the constant threat of Set. Horus's internal strength was tested daily as he grappled with feelings of anger, grief, and the pressure of living up to the legacy of his father. His mother, Isis, instilled in him the values of justice, compassion, and resilience. But it was Horus's own determination that would ultimately define him. He knew that he had a destiny to fulfill, a destiny that would involve facing Set and avenging the death of Osiris. Horus's childhood was not one of innocence or peace, but one of preparations and inner growth. Each challenge he faced was a lesson, each setback a stepping stone toward his eventual triumph. His training under Hathor honed his physical and spiritual strength, but it was the love and wisdom of his mother, Isis, that provided him with the emotional and mental fortitude to withstand the trials ahead. Horus was not just a child born of tragedy. He was becoming a god of war, justice, and protection, one destined to challenge the forces of chaos and restore order to Egypt. By the time Horus was ready to face Set, he was no longer the frightened child hiding in the swamps. He was a fully developed god, powerful in both mind and body, ready to embark on the battle that would define his life and the fate of Egypt itself. The struggle of his childhood had forged him into the warrior he needed to be, and it was time for him to fulfill his destiny. The battle between Horus and Set is one of the most iconic and dramatic rivalries in Egyptian mythology, representing the eternal conflict between order and chaos, light and darkness. Horus, the son of Osiris, was determined to avenge his father's death and reclaim the throne of Egypt from Set, the god who had murdered Osiris and usurped the throne. The struggle between the two gods was not just a fight for power. It was a battle for the very soul of Egypt, with the future of the land hanging in the balance. Set, the god of chaos, was a master of trickery, deceit, and brute strength, while Horus, the god of kingship and protection, embodied justice, loyalty, and divine order. The clash of these two powerful forces was inevitable, and it would shape the future of the gods and Egypt itself. The rivalry between Horus and Set was not a singular event, but a series of legendary confrontations that lasted for years. From the moment Horus was born, Set sought to destroy him, fearing that the child would one day rise up to challenge his rule. The god of chaos sent numerous assassins and dangerous creatures to eliminate Horus, but each time, Horus's mother, Isis, protected him. As Horus grew older, his powers became more formidable and the conflict between the two gods escalated. Set's hatred for Horus intensified as he saw the young god as a threat to his reign. Set's attempts to defeat Horus were many and varied, but Horus, driven by a sense of justice and the need to avenge his father, was unyielding. One of the most famous episodes in the rivalry came when the gods decided to hold a trial to determine who would be the rightful ruler of Egypt. The gods gathered to witness a series of challenges between Horus and Set. The trial was meant to test the strength, wisdom, and character of each god, and it became a pivotal moment in the battle for the throne. Set, known for his cunning and ruthlessness, used every trick at his disposal to try and manipulate the gods in his favor. Horus, however, was not only a skilled warrior, but also a god of honor, and he refused to stoop to Set's deceptive tactics. The trial was fierce, with each god using their divine powers to outwit and outmatch the other. At one point, Set attempted to drown Horus by creating a great flood, but Horus, using his strength and divine abilities, survived. Throughout these trials, the gods watched with great interest, knowing that the outcome would determine the fate of Egypt. But perhaps the most iconic moment in the battle between Horus and Set occurred during a violent confrontation, when Set, in a fit of rage, struck Horus and damaged his left eye. The eye of Horus, known for its symbolism of protection and healing, was severed in the battle. This event was significant not just because of the physical injury, but because it marked a moment of deep emotional and spiritual loss for Horus. His eye represented not only his divine sight, but also his connection to justice and the protection of the people. Losing it was a devastating blow, symbolizing the temporary triumph of chaos over order. Yet even in his pain and defeat, Horus refused to give up. His resilience and determination were unmatched, and he vowed to restore his eye and continue his fight against Set. The gods, moved by Horus's unwavering strength, recognized his commitment to justice. His mother Isis used her powerful magic to heal Horus and restore his eye, symbolizing the victory of healing over destruction and light over darkness. The restoration of Horus's eye became one of the most enduring symbols in Egyptian mythology, representing not only Horus's personal journey, but also the larger struggle between good and evil, order and chaos. The Eye of Horus would go on to become a powerful symbol of protection, widely used in Egyptian culture as an amulet of safety and well-being. Despite losing his eye and facing numerous trials, Horus's spirit remained unbroken. His determination to defeat Set and reclaim the throne grew even stronger. The ultimate confrontation between Horus and Set came when Horus, now a fully grown god, challenged Set to a final battle. The gods gathered once again to witness the clash of these two titans. This time, Horus was victorious. Set, defeated and broken, was cast out, and Horus claimed his rightful place as the ruler of Egypt. The victory was not just a personal triumph for Horus, but a victory for justice and order. Horus's ascent to the throne marked the restoration of balance in the universe, and the gods recognized him as the true king of Egypt. The battle between Horus and Set was more than just a physical contest. It was a cosmic struggle that embodied the fundamental principles of Egyptian mythology. It was a fight for justice, for the restoration of order, and for the protection of Egypt. The rivalry between Horus and Set would go down in history as one of the most significant mythological battles ever fought, and its legacy continues. After years of conflict, struggles, and divine trials, Horus emerged victorious in his battle with Set. The final confrontation between the two gods not only decided who would rule Egypt, but also represented the restoration of cosmic balance and divine order. Set, whose reign had been marked by chaos and destruction, was finally defeated by Horus, the god of kingship, justice, and protection. Horus's victory was not just a personal triumph, it was the restoration of peace to Egypt and the re-establishment of the rule of law and order. The gods recognized Horus as the rightful ruler, and he was crowned the king of Egypt, symbolizing the return of divine authority to the land. Horus's ascension to the throne was more than a political victory. It was the fulfillment of his divine destiny. As the son of Osiris, he had inherited the mantle of kingship, but his battle with Set proved that he was the true heir to the throne. In the aftermath of Set's defeat, Horus became not just the ruler of Egypt, but the protector of the land and its people. His role as the king of the gods was inseparable from his identity as the guardian of the pharaohs. Horus was not just a god of war, he was the embodiment of divine kingship, a model for every pharaoh who would rule Egypt. The pharaohs saw Horus as their divine ancestor, and his image was invoked to legitimize their rule. As the protector of the pharaohs, Horus became a symbol of power, strength, and divine authority. His name was invoked in royal rituals, and his image was often seen on the throne of Egypt, reminding all who ruled that their power was a reflection of Horus's divine mandate. The symbolism of Horus extended far beyond his role as a king, however. As the god who restored order to Egypt, he became a symbol of protection for the nation and its people. Horuss's eye, known as the Eye of Horus or the Ujat, became one of the most powerful symbols of protection in Egyptian culture. This symbol was used in amulets, jewelry, and rituals to ward off evil and ensure safety. The Eye of Horus represented not just physical sight, but also spiritual insight, embodying Horus's role as a protector who could see beyond the material world. It was a reminder that justice and divine protection were ever present, guiding the people of Egypt through times of uncertainty and strife. The Eye of Horus, with its healing and protective qualities, symbolized the god's unwavering commitment to safeguarding the land and its inhabitants. Horus's story is also a reflection of the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth that was central to Egyptian culture. His life and journey were deeply intertwined with the themes of resurrection and renewal. As the son of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, Horus's victory over Set marked not only the triumph of life over death, but also the cyclical renewal of order after chaos. This theme of cyclical rebirth was not limited to Horus's personal story, but was reflected in the very fabric of Egyptian religious beliefs. The ancient Egyptians believed in the constant cycle of death and rebirth, symbolized by the daily rising and setting of the sun. And this concept was embodied in Horus's life and reign. His victory over Set and his role as the protector of Egypt signified the ongoing restoration of order, much like the sun's rising each day after the darkness of night. In Egyptian culture, death was not seen as an end, but as part of an eternal cycle. The death of Osiris and his subsequent resurrection through Horus was a powerful metaphor for this cycle. Just as Horus avenged his father's death, so too did the pharaohs of Egypt embody the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The pharaohs were seen as living embodiments of Horus, and their reigns were viewed as part of this cosmic cycle, a divine process that ensured Egypt's prosperity and stability. Horus's story, therefore, was not just one of divine conflict, but a reflection of the larger rhythms of life in Egyptian thought, where death was followed by renewal and chaos was always overcome by order. Through his eventual victory, Horus became the god who symbolized the triumph of life over death, the protector of the pharaohs, and the eternal guardian of Egypt. His reign as the king of the gods marked a new era of stability and divine protection for Egypt, a reign that would echo through the millennia as a symbol of the cyclical nature of existence and the enduring power of justice. The Eye of Horus, also known as the Ujat or all-seeing eye, is one of the most powerful and enduring symbols in Egyptian mythology. It represents not only the god Horus himself, but also a broader concept of protection, healing, and restoration. The symbol of the eye is intimately tied to Horus's own story. His eye was damaged during his battle with Set, but it was later restored by his mother Isis. This act of restoration became a powerful metaphor for healing, representing the triumph of order over chaos and the power of divine intervention. In Egyptian culture, the Eye of Horus became a potent amulet worn by the living to protect against evil forces and ensure safety and well-being. The symbolism of the eye is rich and multifaceted. First and foremost, it embodies Horus's role as a protector. The eye was believed to have magical properties that could ward off harm, bringing safety to those who wore it. It symbolized divine sight, the ability to see beyond the physical realm and into the spiritual world. In this way, the Eye of Horus was not just a symbol of physical protection, but also a representation of wisdom and clarity, as it allowed the wearer to gain insight and foresight. For the ancient Egyptians, the eye was a sign of strength and vigilance, always watching over the people to ensure that justice prevailed. In addition to protection, the Eye of Horus also represented healing and restoration. The process of Horus's eye being healed by Isis after it was damaged during his battle with Set became a powerful symbol of renewal. The Egyptians believed that the eye could restore health and vitality, and it was often used in rituals intended to heal the sick and ensure a smooth passage to the afterlife. It was also linked to the idea of completeness, as the restored eye symbolized the wholeness and balance that Horus's victory over Set had brought to the world. Even today, the Eye of Horus continues to be recognized worldwide. It remains a symbol of protection, often seen in jewelry, tattoos, and even modern pop culture. Its association with healing and spiritual power ensures its continued relevance, as it represents a timeless force for good. Whether used in ancient Egypt to protect against evil, or worn today as a symbol of personal strength and resilience, the Eye of Horus remains a powerful legacy of the god's enduring influence over the world. Horus's journey is one of immense struggle and triumph. From the tragic loss of his father, Osiris, at the hands of Set, to his eventual victory over the god of chaos, Horus's path was one marked by perseverance, vengeance, and a deep commitment to restoring balance. His early life, filled with hardship and danger, shaped him into a powerful and determined god, destined to avenge his father's death and reclaim the throne of Egypt. With the help of his mother, Isis, and his divine training under Hatheror, Horus grew into the protector of Egypt, embodying justice, wisdom, and strength. Horus's victory over Set not only restored order to the cosmos, but also cemented his place as the king of the gods. His reign marked the return of divine kingship to Egypt, and his image would inspire future pharaohs who saw him as a symbol of divine authority. Through his story, Horus became a timeless figure in Egyptian mythology, representing the eternal struggle between light and darkness, order and chaos, life and death. If you enjoyed learning about Horus's legendary journey, be sure to like this video, share it with fellow mythology enthusiasts, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the ancient world.